What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 812 with Brendon Boyd. How long have we been trying to schedule a podcast between the two of us?
For a couple things. Number one, this is episode 812?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm impressed that you even know that, because sometimes, like, I listened to this dude the other day, he was like, this is episode 1000 and... I don't know. Like, he had no idea.
Mark?
You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty cool that you know the exact episode.
Well, here's the thing. You got to stay organized with everything.
That's
how you got to be organized with how many episodes you've done, scheduling, getting certain guests on, or else, because vague goals get vague results.
100%. So I think you and I have been trying to get together for a little over a month at least, maybe two. And I feel like I'll take the bulk of that responsibility, because there's times I was going to come out here and didn't come out here. I like to stack the trips, you know what I mean? Like, come out here, get a bunch of things going, and then, you know, wherever I'm going. But something told me to pull up. You know what I mean? So I didn't have anything else on the agenda. I'm like, you know what? It's either going to be Friday, it's going to be Saturday. Let me hit Jack up, see who's available. And we just made it happen.
Yeah, dude, I mean, it's a quick hour flight from L.A.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You were in San Diego last night.
I was in San Diego last night, shot up podcast. Then me and the guest, you know, we would talking for like an hour after. End up leaving San Diego like around 12. 3 hours back. Tesla charger stop. I get back like around 3. Flight out here. I have to be at the airport at like 6:30. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're about it, though. Like, you were 100%. Very intentional with me. You're like, all right, dude, what are we doing? Let's set this up. I'm like, oh, shit, I got to get back to Brendon.
Yeah, let's go.
He's on top of it. Mm-hmm. You are building your brand in a way that benefits a lot of people in your space, in my space, because we have friends out here in Phoenix, L.A., Vegas.
Yeah.
Basically all over the West Coast. I'm a New York, New Jersey guy. You're a Boston guy. Mm-hmm. Podcast brand building, right? Yeah. How did you get into that?
I mean, that's a really good question, and the way that you put it together is probably not the way that I thought it would be going into it. Mm-hmm. Like, me starting to do interviews or coming into the podcast space isn't, I didn't think like, okay, I want to build my brand, let me do it. Now, with the time I invested in what I have developed and how I educate and how I teach people, that's exactly what it is. But coming into it, I had no idea that's what it was. So for me, podcasting was about building relationships and leveraging, because I was at a point in my life where I wanted to be a millionaire, had no mentors, had no millionaire friends. So you can't learn from people that don't exist, or you can't get to a place without a map or destination. You know what I'm saying? Like navigation to the destination. And you can't learn from people that are the same place you are if they're not where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Right? So my whole thing was, okay, cool. How can I create an environment where I can put myself around these people, and I can learn from them, and I can float some value? And I had an idea to just start interviewing. It wasn't even a podcast. It was just like, let's say, interviews on YouTube. Like, my first podcast was just me interviewing people on YouTube. So what I noticed was very quickly is no one ever said no. Everyone said yes. Yeah. So that registered like, oh, people want to talk about what they got going on. Oh, I shouldn't feel shy or, despondent about, you know what, let me ask this person if they got some time. No, I can be aggressive. Like, hey, listen, I would love to, have you on my show, learn more about what you got going on, learn more about your product, service, business, whatever. And everybody would say yes. So I think it was like a 98% success rate of people wanting to come on or just have a conversation. So I put that together very quickly. I didn't have any intention to start a podcast. It was just like, I want to build relationships. I want to create value, build relationships. It wasn't until a friend of mine was like, I think this is a podcast, when I started to look at, what actually is a podcast, right? And then that's when video podcasting was becoming more popular, right? Because, traditionally a podcast is just audio. It wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago, right? Especially during COVID, video podcasting became more, I would say, popular. And it's like, if you don't have a video podcast, it's like, yo, what are you doing, right? Some people are turning down coming on a show if it's just audio, because they want the content, they want the clips and stuff like that. They want to be able to see what's going on. And then from there, I was just like, man, let me just continue to do this. Let me build these relationships. I was noticing that I'm learning so much about, the person that's coming on. Oh, man, they're teaching me stuff. It's almost like therapy sessions, mini coaching sessions, mini mentorships. And that was really like the foundation. as I continue to invest in myself, get coaching, mentorships, read a lot of books, do programs, that's when I was like, okay, I think there's something here. There's ways I can leverage it. And podcast being such a powerful vertical, there's so many different ways to make money in this space.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm someone who, and there's no wrong way to do this. There's people getting into podcasting today because they see the dollar signs and they see the value that it provides. There's other people who deem themselves, like me getting into this, who deem themselves a journalist. Where it's like, oh, podcasting and interviewing people is kind of like an art. It is a passion.
Yeah,
where it's like,
100%.
For me, I would do this for free for the rest of my life if I had to. I love this.
But that means you love it, right? So I'm trying to think. Who said this the other day? It was I don't know if it was Bob Proctor or if it was I forget. But the quote was essentially is, if you find something that you would do regardless if you get paid or not, like you love it, like that, this is a space where you can have the most success. Like whatever your barometer of success is, because you're not going to quit.
Yeah.
It's not because, oh, this is a thing that people are doing, so I'm going to do it. Like a lot of podcasters, it's like, it's the hot thing right now, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you don't love it, you're not going to do it. Most podcasters quit between episodes 7 and 15.
Yep.
Right? Because several reasons. 1, investment. 2, they don't know how to monetize. 3, they realize it will actually work. Even if you do a virtual show, which is probably the lowest list of podcasting that you can do, it still work. You still, like what you say earlier, got to find a guest, got to schedule, right? We got to make sure everything, put on the calendar, got to show up, got to communicate, all of that. That's work. Yep. And then you got to host a show. And if you don't have a budget, then you're editing it.
Yep.
Then you have to have a rollout, or like what happens when it comes out, right? Mm-hmm. So all that's work. So once people realize that if they don't love it, then it's like, it's a drag. It's like, damn, I got to do that. Mm-hmm. I'd rather just chill, or I'd rather go out, or I'd rather do something other than this. Then you're just doing it just because. You're not really doing it because it's something that you really see as valuable, and you want to use it as a form of like, an asset to help people or add to the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people just see the dollar signs behind it. Joe Rogan what was it, 2 years ago, Rogan signed the $100 million deal with Spotify, and as of 48 hours ago, they bumped that to $250.
Yeah,
$250, right? The Nelk Boys just the huge deal 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee now with ESPN exclusively. He got the bag for that.
Yeah.
Shows are blowing up. You know, like you need the influence. Obviously, you need the work ethic and the passion to do all of that and build those relationships and connections. You touched on something before we came over here. We met at Coffee and Clay today.
Can I interject? Can I interject one thing? Because I want to add to what you just said. Right. Don't forget about the Coffee and Clay thing. So you named some really influential people that got some really powerful podcasts. And you was just like, they're really getting to the bag. I don't want people that are watching and listening to this to be discouraged. Like, damn, I can't do $100 million deal. I can't do $250 million deal. Damn, I got the leverage over relationships. One of the things I like to share is think about your local market. I mean, you shared it with me the first time that we met. Like, you got the relationship with STK. You can literally use your local market. If you are the hot podcast in your city, state, town, right? You can go get yourself, let's say, a 5-figure deal, or 5 5-figure deals. Go to your credit union. Go to your coffee shop. Go to that bar or restaurant that you go out a lot. Go to the club that you go out, right? Create creative opportunities that they can invest in a show, and then use your show as something that is an adjacent to what they have going on. Maybe with the club, you could do, like, if they buy a table, if somebody spends, let's say table's $300. I don't know how much they are in Vegas, but let's say they definitely ain't that in LA. Oh, yeah. But let's say the top spender spends $1,000. Boom. Maybe as part of that, they get to be interviewed, prior to, now that's more attention to their table, because they get in bars, they get the sparklers, they got the ladies, whatever. But now you get a little mini interview, right? That's more attention. I want to pay for that. That club now could invest in your podcast, right? Or maybe the coffee shop, maybe do a live podcast once a month. Maybe at the credit union, you do a financial literacy 5-10 minute, interview. There's so many different ways. So you don't got to worry about, hey, listen, Rogan, these people, they know all these celebrities, they're getting them on. I understand. People want to pay for that. I don't know these celebrities, but who do you know in your local market? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're the high school student or the college student, and you can have all these relationships with the athletes. You can build around that. There's just a lot of different ways that you can leverage what you have to monetize, and don't be. I look at it like, wow, if Rogan can get 250, if the Nelk Boys can go crazy, you know what I'm saying? If all these people can get all these bags, that's like 5 people. That just tells you how much money's in the space.
Yep.
Right? So that means even if you get half of 1%, you're still doing really well with your show. And you can make it a 6-figure, 7-figure podcast for sure.
Do you think you have to have a specific niche to have a successful podcast?
I think it makes it easier for you to have a niche, or if it's not one niche, you kind of toggle between maybe 2 or 3 topics. So maybe you do, let's say, for me, I got this concept when I create videos. It's called Plant-Based Dude. So, I'll eat and I'll do my little, my reaction to it. But let's say with Plant-Based Dude, if I was a podcaster with that, right? That was a niche. Let's say I talked about food. Let's say I also created content around food. So I went to different places. And then let's say I interview like chefs or food critics. Those are all different things.
Yep.
Right? So I can put that together. Like, oh, where am I going this week? Oh, this week I'm in Tennessee. I'm going to this bar. They got this amazing chicken, or they got this amazing, plant-based chicken, or whatever the case may be. Boom. While I'm there, I'm interviewing renowned chef XYZ. We have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different ways. So I feel like if you don't have one niche, you can create your podcast around the things or topics that you like, and then build that brand. Because like you said earlier, it's a brand. So it doesn't have to be one way or the other. It just needs to be cohesive. Mm-hmm. And you can create your own cohesiveness.
You got to be consistent in those specific things that you're talking about.
100%.
You could do like a one-off video talking about something, but like nobody's really ever going to get behind it if you're like consistently talking about other things. What I was going to say with the coffee and clay thing was that you talk about like the Pat McAfee's, the Joe Rogans, Nelk Boys. Brad Lee with his business podcast took off. Like you can go all day long on some of the podcasts I've just blown up over the past several years. But you touched on something when we were talking earlier, like you don't need to wait a year or 2 before you can actually start monetizing your show. You mentioned like the average podcast lasting 7 episodes because people don't monetize quickly, and like that what was it, delayed gratification? Not too many people invest in that.
Does that even exist in 2024,
no,
bro?
Man, for the winners out there that have gone through it, right?
Bro, just think about the trajectory of us getting on this show, right? Because it took the amount of time it took. It didn't take that much time, but it took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
One of us could have been like, fuck it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been fine.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's normally what goes on. But because you wanted it to happen, I wanted it to happen, it's all about time and alignment. It happened. But yeah, a lot of people are not willing to do the delayed gratification, which is crazy because if you think about any other area in your life, that's how life actually works. You ain't gonna go to the gym and get instant, like muscles. You can't even make even instant meals ain't instant. It still takes whatever time it takes. You know what I mean? So people we're just so used to now, fast. We don't get the results. Then we just want to give up or just quit. Yeah. And that's what happens in this space a lot.
We're both like brand builders on social media. I'm like, we'll get around to it when we get around to it. Like there was never a doubt in my mind. Like there's people who I've talked to 3 years ago that I still haven't gotten on the show that I'm like, we'll get them one day when it makes sense for both of us.
100%, yeah.
Like there's no like, oh, I didn't get him, it's never going to happen. It's like, no, in the back of my head, like when the opportunity's right and we're in the same city, timing, like that's what it is, timing.
Yeah.
And if you're intentional about it, you'll get to it.
100%.
But there's people who, like I said, get into podcasting, they don't get it right away. And then there's the shows that wait 2, 3, 4 years before they pop off. But you were telling me earlier that like you don't have to wait. Like you can monetize from episode 1 as long as you know how to leverage yourself.
100%.
How do you know how to properly leverage yourself in podcasting?
Well, that's a great question. So I'll give a couple different examples. So number 1, if you are a podcaster and you currently have episodes out, right? Let's say you have episodes out, you're not monetizing. Well, in your case, you got 800 plus, right? You know what I'm saying? So one of the best ways you can monetize quickly, you have a wealth of knowledge that are embedded in these shows, right? Maybe some people you remember certain quotes, maybe certain people you remember certain moments. But you could literally, there's a couple ways you can do it. You could literally, right? You can do the top 100 things I learned from, thriving entrepreneurs. You can turn that into a digital product. You can go back to each podcast and you can grab, a 5-minute soundbite, 3-minute soundbite, or whatever quote. You can take that and you can turn it into a particular page. Hey, this is what I learned from, Jordan Belfort. This is what I learned from the next person. Boom, right? 100 people. You can put a picture of them in there if you want. You can have a link back to that episode if you want, right? You go to Fiverr, you get a graphic, you get a cover done. You hire a formatter to format it, right? You can literally take the source file and put it in audio type, which is an AI app. It'll give you the transcript, and you can either hire somebody to go through the transcript, or you can pull it, or if you remember the quote, you can just note it down yourself, right? Then what you want to do is pre-sell the graphic cover of the book for the next 30 days while you're putting this together. You know what I'm saying? And then at that point, bro, you're able to monetize. Is that my phone?
It's gotta be.
Hold on, listen.
It's honestly a perfect mix for the show.
Sure is. Sure is my phone.
Timer's going off,
That's
dude.
crazy. Hold on. That was nuts.
It's always fun when someone calls you or like something goes off.
Make sure this is still good. Okay, cool.
You got to get the content, man. I've been in situations like that where like the camera or the phone dies, and there were so many good sound bites, and you're just like, fuck.
So yeah, bro. So boom, we're gonna take your pre-existing episodes. You're gonna interview some high value people, right? We're gonna take 50 or 100 of them, right? We can make it a quote book. You can be like the top 3 things I learned from the 50 influential people that I interviewed on my podcast. Turn that to a digital product, right? 22 sales of $47 product is $1,000. Now all of those are gonna get different. Now all your episodes can get views too, because if you link it back to the episodes, it's digital. These are the four tips I learned from XYZ. If you want to check out the full episode, click below. You can then sell that for $47. Now you can turn that into an array of other products as well, right? But another thing that you can do is you can turn it into a community, right? So I believe that every podcast needs a community, because there is a percentage of your viewers that want to go deeper, right? They want to know where Jack's going. Jack's going to Vegas. Shit, why you going to Vegas, Jack? They want to know, right? So you can basically let your community know what's the latest and greatest going on with you behind the scenes and what's going on with the podcast, right? But they need to pay for that, right? So what's the difference? If Jack and I are flying to Vegas and there is economy and then there's first class, economy is everybody, right? There's normally like 100 seats. You got the third row, right? The middle seat. Babies is crying, right? Anybody gets that seat. First class is normally like 14, 16 seats. It's only 2 seats. You got to pay more for that. But typically first class is full all the time, because people are willing to pay for convenience. They're willing to pay for exclusivity. They're willing to pay to be around other people that are like-minded.
That's right.
So if you create a community for your podcast and say, hey, it's an option, you can invest in it if you want. Or you can have 2 tiers. You can have the free tier. You can have the VIP tier. The VIP tier, let's say, it's $49 and $99, whatever you want to do. Now, if the 99 or the 49 option, the VIP option, right? With that, guess what? Maybe when you interview your people now, interview like an extra 2 minutes content that you don't add in the podcast, that you put in the community. Maybe you're reading books and you're going to throw in some gems. This is what I learned from this book. Here's my book list. Here's some of my affiliate products. Hey, I'm going to Vegas. Do I got any of my team members out there? Meet me in Vegas, y'all. We can have a meetup. Let's make some content together. Now you're building a community out, right? If you got 10 people and it's $99 a month, that's another $1,000 a month. Now your podcast is a 5-figure podcast, right? So you got your digital product going crazy. You got your community going crazy. And every single person you add, you can basically be like, okay, cool. People normally stay, let's say, 4 to 6 months in the community. If I multiply that, that's about $400 to $600. That means every person that signs up worth at least $600, right? So boom, make an incentive. Hey, listen, if you join the community and you get other people to join as well, we make money together. Give them an incentive to stay. Right. Give them an incentive to bring people. Mm-hmm. Now they're bringing people to the community for you. And you're building a community. Now, when you want to do a live podcast, when you want to take the podcast on the road, if you want to do a podcast tour, you're basically building a community of people that are already invested in your show, that are going to want to pull up because they already invested. So of course they want to invest more. Of course they want to meet you. Of course they want to, come to the live show and meet the next latest and greatest guest that you have on, right? So boom, that's another monetization strategy. One of my favorites to get going, if it's episode 1, is a strategy that I like to call the VIP package. So the VIP package is basically you offering the assets to the guest, right? So think about it. Let's say the guest is already in the show. Hey, Brendon, appreciate you for coming. Oh, hey, Jack, appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. Can't wait for you to, share what you got going on. Quick question, though. Are you interested in the VIP package? What you gonna say?
Absolutely.
Even if you don't know,
does it entail? Just ask
exactly.
more,
You can be like,
more
"What
information,
was
please."
that?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "All right, so listen, this is what we're gonna do, Jack. I'm gonna give you your full video and audio, right? So you can take your files. I'm gonna edit up 8 clips for you. We're gonna shoot a 30-second, commercial for you and your business in real time while we're in the studio. We have something fresh for you. We'll take that commercial, we'll put it in your episode, right? I'll do an email blast to my community. I'll do a text message blast to my community. And you know what? I got a decent following on Instagram. We can go live. You just let me know the date, right? And that's only $500.
Yep.
That's the value, because most guests aren't gonna do nothing with the files anyway. So if you give them the clips, they'll repost them. They'll probably collab with you, which means now you're getting a little bit more promotion. They want the commercial for their products and service because most of them don't make commercials, right? So if you put that in an episode, now they get a double call to action, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do to monetize. And if you want sponsors, like everyone wants these sponsors, go to your local market. Go to the areas in real life that you fancy. If it's a restaurant, credit union, bank, nail salon, you know what I'm saying? If maybe it's like a race cart spot that you go to with the boys or something, bowling alley. Go to the places where in your local town and city that you build relationships, or maybe an app, or maybe software. Another easy way to monetize. Everyone's on Amazon. Build out an Amazon store. You don't even need a storefront. You can just make an Amazon affiliate link list and have that available. What do? I read books. I buy electronics, I buy skincare products, and have those all in your thing. Even if they don't buy none of those products, they go through Amazon through your link, you're still going to get paid because they entered Amazon through your link.
Yep.
So now you're making some money from that too. Run all of these things simultaneously.
Adds up.
Right? And then another thing you could do is you could literally just charge a guest. And if you feel like my show's new, I don't have no perceived value in your own mind, you could literally charge the guest studio time so the podcast is free for you, and then throw an extra $100 on top.
Yep.
So if your podcast studio rental, let's say it's $250 for the hour for you to do and it comes with the edits and everything or whatever it comes with, charge $350. Hey man, listen, I don't really charge for my podcast, but the studio time's $350. They're not gonna say no to that. That means you're basically running your podcast at a profit because you're getting the edits covered, you're getting the studio time covered, and you're coming up with that extra $100. There's so many ways. We didn't even talk about real sponsorships yet.
Yep.
And that's just starting from one. And utilizing the content that you're already creating.
I feel like that's where most people go to first. It's where I went to first,
Yeah.
is sponsorships, right? Who can I get to sponsor my show? I mean, you just listed off 5, 6, 7 things that most people wouldn't have even thought of right off
man.
the bat, too. Because in your mind, you're thinking, like, I need to build some credibility first. It's like, well, if you have the connections and you can provide that value right away, why not?
Everyone has value, Jack. The problem is everyone doesn't value the value that they have.
Yep. Oh, and it's hard. It's kind of like you talk about, like, healthy ego versus toxic ego. Like, people right away, like, oh, I mean, I'm not a big deal. Why would anybody invest in me? That's
Facts.
the initial thought, right?
Yeah. But the problem is, I don't have the hat on today, but everyone's God level. You know what I'm saying? We're all made in God's image. So if we were all made in God's image, that means we are at that height, right? That means we're all creators. That means we all should think of ourselves as a big deal because we all are. It's society, it's indoctrination, it's school, it's people in our lives that make us feel like we need to be meeker than who we really are. You know what I'm saying? So if we're the highest of God's creation, that means we're in the likeness of God. So, bro, you need to pop your shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm on your fucking podcast right now. Because of your influence and your power and what you created, I wanted to fly here on my own expense to be here with you to create this moment. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's how people should see them. And if you're around people that don't see you like that, you need to not be around those people.
What do you think of, because people look at the word humble, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you need to be humble, right?
Yeah.
Where there's a few influencers out there that have touched on that and did their research on the word humble, meaning like basically lowering your own self-esteem so you don't come off as self-confident or cocky, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of twisted, because it's like you should have self-confidence and like that self-esteem to say, I am the great one, you know, in my own mind, in my own life, you know? Why do you think people are quick to just be like, no, be humble, don't think that much of yourself, don't go out of your way to do stuff?
I think it's another way just to control the mass, bro.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, if you really ask somebody that question, they're going to be like, I don't even know why I'm saying being humble. They're just saying to be humble because they've been taught that in this situation, right, when it looks this way, or when someone kind of, you know, exhibits these type of behavior patterns, oh, they should be humble. You know? Nah. You being humble is not godlike. You being humble is not the highest use of yourself. You being humble is basically a form of you lowering your standards and teaching yourself that, oh yeah, when something great happens to you, you made $1 million, don't say nothing. You don't wanna make other people feel bad.
Yeah.
You know, you just bought a crib and they did. It's cool. Oh, you bought your second house? It's fine, man. You know. Oh, you just got a deal? That's nice. Don't tell nobody. Bro, all we're doing is not encouraging the next to go after whatever the fuck they want to go after.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you doing good, not only am I excited for you, right, and I want to spend with you, that means, damn, I could do good too.
That's right.
So a friend of mine, literally, I've been telling him for months, finally listened to me, and he launched his first product, right? And as soon as I said, bro, send me the link. Send me the link. As soon as he sent me the link, bro, I bought it. I didn't care how much it was. It was $125. Boom, paid it. Boom, sent it to him, screenshot. Proud of you, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was proud that not only for him, but I was happy to be the first one that could support him. Mm-hmm. You know, I was like, oh man, this is cool. It's too much. Lower the price. Yo, make it half the price and I'm gonna buy it. Nah, bro, it should probably be priced more. But I'm happy that I could support you. Why? Because me paying is showing him the value of what he created. That's going to give him the momentum to go after and do something else.
Yeah. Oh, because when you're first starting out, too, like most people, like your buddy was probably like, okay, maybe this is a fair price that everybody would do. Where it's like, no, I'm willing to pay full price, if not more. And it's like,
100%.
Oh, now I have the confidence to, like, this is what I'm worth moving forward.
He actually lowered the price after I bought it for that reason.
Yeah.
And him and I was on the phone. It's my guy since high school. So him and I was on the phone, and I'm like, bro, I bought it with no hesitation. He's like, bro, but it's you. I'm like, bro, just let the marketplace decide. You can't decide for the next person's pocket. So anyway, he lowered the price. It's still a decent price. He lowered it was like $125. He lowered it to like $80. You know what I mean? So it's not crazy. But he sold 5. And nobody was like, bro, the price. No one even said nothing about the price. They recognized the value. They made an investment.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So the humble, nah, I'm not with all of that. I just feel like if people in your life are telling you to be humble, then you need to spend time with people in your life that are not perpetuating that type of energy.
I mean, humble is associated with nice, where like cockiness is associated with asshole, I feel like.
Yeah.
We're like, no, like people can be cocky and be insanely nice.
Yeah, I think it's control, bro. Like if you can control people by saying, yo, listen, just pump it down. Like, don't show off, you know what I mean? Like, don't stand out. Then you can control people, right? But if I'm like, yo, go crazy, Jack. You like, yo, go crazy, Brendon. We're both going crazy. We're vibrating at a higher level, which is going to allow other people to also vibrate at a higher level. You know, but if we got our shoulders up and our back is hunched up and, you know, we're like, hey, don't. I know you went crazy. Don't tell nobody. Like, that's not where everyone is no longer going to be inspired. We're going to be on a low vibration. There's going to be no change, no motivation, no inspiration, no influence. And I feel like powers that be, that's what they use to control.
on the topic of providing value for people to want to invest in you, whether that be inviting someone on a podcast, whether that be putting on an event for your podcast where they can potentially connect and network with other people, right?
Yeah.
Dinners, seminars, whatever it is. What have you seen that people should kind of steer away from? You mentioned the things that people can do and probably should do. What are some things that you've seen like that's not going to work if you try to do that?
I don't like when people force the payment. You know what I'm saying? When people are like, yo, you got to pay to come on the show. No, this is the thing. I don't mind paying to come on the show. I recognize an investment. But when someone is so hard pressed on you got to pay, that they don't, it's like you don't even notice that the money's not even a value. If I come on your show and you don't even know how to monetize, right? And I just ran off 6-7 ways to monetize, that's way more valuable than me paying, because now I just gave you a gift.
Yep.
If you can bring a 7-figure earner that may not have the craziest, brand image on social, but he exited the company, or he was able to sell off a piece of his brand, or he was able to do something remarkable in the space, but you're like, oh, his social following is not crazy, so I don't want to have him on the show. I don't rock with that. It's stupid. There was a podcaster that she has a pretty good show, and I sent her somebody, but their social's not crazy, but he's crazy in real life. She's like, no, I don't want him. He doesn't fit my brand. I'm like, why? Because his social following is low. That's not how you rate someone's value.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that could have been a business partner. It could have been a collaborator. It could have been a mentor. It could have been someone that inspired you. You probably could have got some really good content. If you really look at it, every single podcast is etched in stone, meaning it's evergreen. So that could have been a lesson or a session that you can always go back to and that you can use for your own life. So I don't like when people press the hard money thing on it. Another thing that I really don't like in the space is where like people are just disingenuine. You know what I mean? It's just like just cause podcasting is like the thing to do, that everyone feels like they can do it. I don't like that neither.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the thing that I go back to. It's like I did this because I loved it, right?
Yeah.
It was a profession. It was a form of art where I could portray myself in any which way that I seem fit and interact with people that have different views on things and different mindsets and collaborations towards things. Like it's an art form to me, where like you're seeing it more and more these days where it's like people are doing it for business. People, like I've been on shows, I've had people on shows where it's like, okay, they just had the agenda to cover and then they're out. They didn't want to build a relationship. It was more so like, I want to get these views and the content out there to promote me. It was like all about me, I. Where it's like we've met people, whether it was like here, Vegas, you out in LA. It's like everybody wants to collaborate. You find those people that want everybody in their circle to do well, Like
facts.
We mentioned the WhatsApp group chat that Sean started, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, the amount of opportunity, the
Super
amount of
valuable.
collaboration, the value that he's provided there. Like, and it's up to you. Like, the people that are most successful in this world, they took action on their own to do it.
Facts.
Nobody's going to do it for you. So it's like, surround yourself with people that have that similar mindset of wanting to succeed in the most genuine and integrated way. You know, like you got to have integrity. You got to be wanting to do it for the right reasons, whether those reasons are for yourself or to help other people, right? As opposed to just doing it for yourself and building your own stuff. Because like you're not going to build any friends that way. You're not going to make any friends that way. And I've seen too many people who are just there to promote their book or, there to promote their business, their event for them so that they could create all the revenue for themselves.
Yeah, and that's fine if the agenda is just like, let's communicate that. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't
pretend.
Don't pretend and leverage my platform for your benefit, and then don't provide value. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, especially if you got a free show, because this show ain't free. There's still some money that happens somewhere, right? Either studio or rented equipment, or maybe you own the equipment. You got a space, whatever. Something's happening for it to happen. Then you got to edit it, right? So there's a cost there. So don't come on my show. Don't provide any value to me. Just want to rape, pillage the content. Use it for your own merit. You know what I'm saying? And then just be out. That's not the energy I would want on a show. That's not energy that I would use for a referral. That's not nobody I would pass on to nobody.
No, and that's the big thing. It's like every salesman will tell you life is sales, right? This is no different, really. It's like it's referrals. People will be like, oh, Brendon was a great guy. Oh, Jack was a great guy. Oh, Sean was a great guy. Let me put you in touch with him.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's like, you're never going to do that if you're just in it for yourself. And it's
100%.
the thing is, I've known very few people where I'm like, oh, they were great. And then they turned out, they were just lying to me. They were scamming me.
Yeah.
Usually you could tell right away when someone's genuine versus when someone's just there to promote themselves.
Facts.
I mean, it's so tough these days. It's why it's like so, like I'm so grateful and so like I cherish the moment and I don't take it for granted when I meet people that genuinely want to help other people, because we are not only in an era where, you know, people are always doing it for themselves and for the money, but we live in certain areas where that's where it's all about. LA, come on. Vegas, come on. You know, they're out there and you got to watch yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah.
How do you go about finding those relationships, and how intentional are you, like, after we're done with this podcast? Like, we've been in touch for almost, like, I want to say close to 6 months now.
Has it been 6 months?
Yeah, because there were a few events that we
damn!
I can go through my DMs, too, right now and kind of proof that. But, like, how do you go about staying in touch with people? Because, like, I've done over 800 episodes. You're going to get there one day with your show. How do you go about consistently staying in touch with people and checking in?
I think, you know, you definitely got your email list, you got your text message list. I think you got your preferred guest list, you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as guests that you really had a relationship with and things like that. I think at the very least, what people should do is, you know, you can create a WhatsApp group for your guests, you know, something that Sean did. Or you could just create another email list just for your guests, and you share content to your guests that are more, you know, I would say poignant to the podcast. So maybe it's like, if you have a podcast that's about, let's say, entrepreneurship and business, you bring all these guests on the show. You know, all these guests are like entrepreneurs or business person. You know, have a group, have a text message list, have an email list just for them, not on your main list, but then you just float deals. Maybe you're floating deals through. Maybe you're floating meetups through. Maybe you're floating, you know, investment opportunities through. You know, maybe you're like, oh, of the 800 people that I, you know, interviewed, 50% of them are in real estate. 25% of them are in, you know, venture capital. Another 10% are fitness people. You know, another 15% are people that just have startups. Then you can actually start segmenting it, and you know exactly the information that you're sending through. Another thing that you can do, I feel like, is like, it's like the brand new, like, you know, faceless 7-figure, potential 6-figure, 7-figure business is like a newsletter. Right, so if you create a branded newsletter, it could be for your guests or even for, you know, your subscribers. But if it's for the guests, again, you curate it around the things that are important for that group, and that's a great way to stay in touch. So it could be like a weekly drop, you know, bi-weekly drop, a couple times a month. You know what I mean? I think something that's really, really cool. You know, if podcasters have the budget, you know, do like an annual dinner for your guests.
Yep.
You know, get a sponsor if you find a sponsor, or you basically create a deck and you pitch it to a restaurant and say, hey, listen, I got 200 people coming through. These are all 7, 8, 9-figure earners. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of opportunity here. Would you, you know, give me a buyout for the food and drink or whatever? Or, you know, could we make something happen? Because I'm bringing a lot of people that got a lot of money. It's a lot of opportunity. So, I mean, that's cool too, because it gives you opportunity to now take it to the next level. Hey, let's have dinner. I want to just say thank you for coming on the podcast in 2024. This is my 2024 crew. Or you can be like, hey, you know, if you've been on my podcast in general, this is our annual meetup or this is our annual dinner. Things like that are super, super cool. You know what I mean? Or like what Sean Kelly's doing with the, I think they like bi-monthly meetups.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So things like that, really low lift, free, great opportunities for you to sustain and maintain those relationships and start building on them.
That is really, I might honestly take you up on that with the
should.
STK stuff. But you mentioned sponsorship decks.
Yeah.
That's usually when someone like gets their first opportunity to work with whether it's a company, a restaurant, just someone that can support their show, right?
Yeah.
How would you go about, for people who don't know how to do it? It was 6 months, by the way. September 2nd was the first time that I reached out to you, which is crazy.
That's crazy,
it's gone
bro.
by that quickly, right?
My fault, bro.
But like I said, like it's like delayed gratification. It's like we're going to get around to it whenever.
It's worth it. I'm happy to be here.
There's people that I reached out to yesterday that I know I'm going to meet like 8 months down the line, you know? Like you just have that expectation. Everybody's busy all the time. How do you go about building out the right sponsorship deck for a company to look at?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, number one, if you don't know what you're doing, If you need some help, I think it's cool if you just Google what a sponsorship or pitch deck is, and then go to Fiverr, fiverr.com, and then you can put pitch deck in the search, and all these designers are gonna come up that can actually create it for you. And then with the pitch deck, you want to have probably like a section that's about the show or the opportunity, right? You have a section about you. You have a section about showing a little bit of history. So for instance, if it's for the podcast and it's for the dinner, you're gonna show maybe the top 10 people that were guests, right? Your highest valuable people that were guests that would stand up, might have a brand name or something. Then you want to say the intent. This is the intent. This is what we're looking to do. Have your branding, have your colors. Simple. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. Just like straight to the point. Contact information, reach out. That's going to start the conversation. Now, when they get that and they see what's going on, then you set up that meeting or that Zoom call, and you can go a little bit deeper. Hey, Jack, this was cool, man. I see what you got going on. So how would this best benefit us? You'd be like, hey, listen, great. I'm happy that you reached out. Can I get 7, 8, 9, 11 minutes of your time? Right? It's going to stick out to them because who asked for 7, 8, 9, or 11 minutes? Right? Now you're going to move it to the next step, get on the Zoom call. They're interested, so you can craft something now that might be, right, very beneficial for them. So let's say STK, and you use the same method to get STK to be interested. Now, if they raise their hand like, okay, Jack, yeah, I'm interested. Let's do the Zoom call. If today was Friday and the Zoom call's on Tuesday, you got Saturday, Sunday, Monday to put something custom together and show the value of what it would be for STK. So maybe you're like, hey, listen, you can brand this, you can brand this, you can get access to all the data. We can have a step and repeat with STK. We're going to have a photo booth. All the photos and videos going to be branded with STK. You know what I'm saying? I'll make sure everyone does meeting videos shouting out STK. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could just craft in your mind and say, hey, these are some of the things that we were thinking, but what were you thinking? How do you feel? So now you can take what they got plus what you got and then make something that's beneficial for them and you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, get their intake too, because they're the ones that are potentially investing.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
You want to let's say bait them, but at the same time you want to make them arrive that it's their decision, but then show them what the value is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you ever go to the food court in the mall, and let's say the Asian restaurant, they give you the chicken, right? So they give you the chicken because they give you reciprocity. But then when you go and you're like, okay, let me get the plate, they basically just baited you to make you getting the plate was your decision. But it was really their decision the whole time. Right? Yeah. They're like, yo, how can we get this person to get like a dinner, a $9.99 dinner? Okay, let's give them a piece of chicken, or let's give them a piece of steak, or whatever case may be. Let's give them a sample, right? Now that sample's like, damn, this is good. You know what? Yeah, let me actually get a plate. But it was really their, that's what they wanted the entire time. But it arrived that you made it feel like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. So then you were more inclined to do it. Same thing.
Same thing as selling any product.
100%. Life
is 100% about sales, whether you want to believe it or not. Some people don't want to get into sales. It's everything's about sales.
They're afraid, man.
Everything's about sales.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why some people just are comfortable working their 9-to-5 jobs. There's like nothing wrong with that, especially if you're still figuring it out.
It's a little wrong. There's a little something wrong with that.
There is.
What I would say is, what's wrong with that is when these corporate companies do these sweeps and they laying off 1,700 people, 1,200 people, 5,000 people, 500 people. That's wrong, because you think you have this false sense of security because you're afraid of sales, because you're afraid of networking, because you're afraid of collaborating, because you're afraid of putting out your gift to the world, right? So you can build your own thing independent of, even if you want the 9-to-5. I'm not saying don't get the job if you want the job. Everyone's not designed to be like an entrepreneur or business owner. I'm not saying that. But know that at any time, one of these corporations could just do a sweep and you laid off. Then what you going to do, right? So always have something on the side that's your own, at the very least, that you can control, that you can't get swept from. You know what I mean? You can have an additional stream of revenue. If you got a podcast, you can run it up.
What do you say to people who just cannot figure out what their thing is, though? Because those are the people out there that are working the jobs because they're just asleep mentally. They have not figured out what their purpose in life. I don't like to get it, kind of label someone with like a purpose, like they're meant to, they have like a higher calling or anything. But like, how do you go about finding what it is you're passionate about? How would you go about that when explaining that to someone who hasn't figured it out?
So with like students or mentees I work with, I normally ask them a couple of basic questions, right? And it's like, what's the thing? I'm gonna ask you in real life. Let's see what answers you get so you can get some real stuff, right?
Yeah.
No pontification here. So Jack, what's one thing that people come to you for? You might get text messages about, or you might get calls about. You're known for it. It's easy for you to do. The majority of people always ask you for it. What's that one thing?
How are you so well connected?
Okay, boom.
What about you makes you a well connected person to where everybody wants to get in contact with you?
Boom.
Build a relationship. With
So
you?
that's one thing, right? So then let's say you couldn't answer that, which was a great answer, by the way. But let's say you couldn't answer that. Then the next question would be is, what's something that you notice in the marketplace that could be improved? What would you say?
Revenue stream.
Okay, boom, right? Let's say you couldn't answer that. Then the next question would be is, okay, what is something that you feel like is missing? And it could be something that you hear people talk about in your daily life, maybe your family, maybe your friends. They're like, man, I wish this happened. What's something that's missing that doesn't exist?
I would say self-authenticity in a lot of people.
Okay, boom. So you got self-authenticity, right? You got how you become so well connected. And what was the other thing?
Was it streaming revenue?
Oh yeah, streaming revenue.
Stream,
so
yeah.
you just gave me 3 things. We didn't rehearse this, right? There was nothing going on underneath the table. I didn't slide you anything, but you were able to give me 3 ideas. So those are the 3 questions I would ask people, right? What is something you're really good at that people come to you for that you just ignore? That's easy for you to do, but you undervalue.
You don't even think about.
Yeah, but you undervalue because it is you. What's one thing that you feel like can be improved in the marketplace, right? And then there's one thing that's missing, but you hear people always talk about, because, just in life, man, if this existed or, if this was available, if you can answer one or all of those questions, that's something you could use to build your first product.
Mm-hmm. And you have to be intentional about taking the time to think, what am I good at?
Yeah.
What can I provide value? And then, like I said, like that egoless mindset of people thinking like, oh, no one would ever buy from me. What value do I provide? Mm-hmm. A whole hell of a lot more than you think.
100%. That's they being humble. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
And you just not really having the experience that, oh, wow, people do see a lot of value in it.
Yeah,
like you said about your friend, like investing in the price that he set versus like, oh, I should have went way less.
100%.
Like, no.
The thing is this, I think people overestimate the value in value. I'll give you an example. We're in a podcast studio right now. Is it the highest, techiest, newest, brand newest with all the lights and no? But some podcasts would be like, nah, I can't record here. But it has cameras, it has space. We got the soundboards, right? We got the foam, we got the you know what I'm saying? We got the computer, we got everything. It can get done. This is value. But is this really the value, or is our voice going in here being recorded, going out to the world the value? All I'm saying is people overestimate what they think is valuable, when the hat that's on your head with the embroidery that's making that logo is valuable.
Yep.
Meaning you can monetize that. Meaning everything can be monetized. Right? It's all about what you feel like is valuable. But we're in a world right now where it's full of abundance, and we are overcomplicating and overlooking what can be shared to the world. And we're all creators and we can create. Mm-hmm. Right? So everything that's out here, like this was someone's idea. That was someone's idea. This was someone's idea. So that means we're sitting around nothing but people's ideas that have come into the world from manifestation, right? They manifested and came from the let's say the spiritual world or the energy realm or whatever, to the to the 3D world, the world that we live in, the world that we can touch each other.
Yep.
But it was an idea, meaning it didn't exist before. We can all do that.
Yep.
Somebody made paper clips, Jack.
Yep.
That's valuable. Mm-hmm. But is it more or less valuable than a car? You know what I'm saying? Somebody made toilet paper, Jack. Is that more or less valuable than double pane windows? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's just really all in where you see the value, but it's still valuable for someone, somewhere. And we're Americans, meaning there's a lot of third world countries where we're throwing away stuff that we don't think is valuable,
Yep.
which would be the top notch over there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just think. Look at the things that we look up shit on all the time.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Jobs, what a guy. What do we look up on how to be successful? We go to Google. We go to Bing, you know? people created that stuff. You know, you talk about microphones, clothes, hats, shoes, shirts, forks, knives, utensils, like food.
Yeah.
You know, all came this is how the world goes round, right?
Yeah. Everything is valuable. We don't have to overcomplicate it. You just have to think about what's the value that you want to bring in the world. And then sometimes your value might just be improvement. Mm-hmm. Maybe you see something that already exists, you want to improve it. Maybe the doorknob doesn't need to be on the right side. Maybe it really needs to be on the left side. And maybe doors need to open left and not right. What did Lambo do? They made scissor doors.
Yep.
What did Rolls Royce do? They made suicide doors, right? They also have cars that open regular, traditionally. But when you have, let's say, a Lambo, you got the scissor doors, people feel like that's valuable. When you have a Rolls Royce and you got the suicide doors, people feel like that's valuable. But it's still how a door opens. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, if I didn't have a logo on the front that was embroidery, and I put it on the side and it was a screen print, that's valuable. You know what I'm saying? So it's really in the creator to bring forth the ideas and then allow the marketplace to dictate that value. But then at the same time, if you know that you're providing a solution for something that's a problem, it's like automatic value.
Mm-hmm. And the worst thing that could happen is that, okay, the market spoke and it's not working. Adapt, adjust. Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest thing for people is that they're afraid to go out there and have that stinging feeling of failing.
Yeah.
You're going to fail 9 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. Go out there and figure out how it's going to work. Yeah. Don't just have an idea in your head. Like, it's easy to have an idea in your head and be excited about that idea. Go put it into action. Go put it into play. See what doesn't work about it, because there's going to be something that doesn't work.
100%.
Go figure it out and then adapt and adjust and make those adjustments.
100%, bro. You said it. I can't say no better than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I'm passionate about because like I have so many people in my life that have great ideas, but I'm like, oh, go get it critiqued by someone who's done it. They're like, nah, I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm like, dude, put it into action. Because you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
It's just the failure is what's gonna get you to that next step of what you have to do.
That's how you make it succeed. And I mean, you can call it lessons. You don't even gotta call it failure. Who's calling it failure? It's lessons.
You either win or you learn, right?
Yeah, win or you learn. I mean, I think school is the thing that taught us to, you get a test, you pass, you fail. But that's not really how life goes. So even in school, even though it was like you pass, you fail, what did you do? You retook it. You went back, studied, you improved. Maybe you had to, not have music on when you were studying. Maybe you needed an extra hour. Maybe you needed to read it and write it. You know what I mean? Maybe you needed to read it, write it, recite it. Maybe you need to read it, write it, recite it, and then watch a case study. You know what I'm saying? Like, you figured out, what's the study method that works best for me as I have a test to prepare for. You know what I need? I need an extra day. I need to do this. Like, you found your formula, but you found that through trial and error, right? But school's teaching you, hey, listen, you failed. Don't ask for help. Don't collaborate with the person next to you. Don't cheat. So if Jack and I are taking a test that we both need to pass, instead of us working together and sharing notes, right? Going faster, I'm cheating.
Yep.
And what do you do and what do I do? Because we were talking, you're like, oh, don't cheat. Don't look at my stuff. Mm-hmm. Don't look at my stuff. Right? It's not like, that's not how you learn, and that's not how life is made. Like, Jack has a pod, I have a pod, right? He's going to give me some gems. I'm going to give him some gems. What's going to happen? He's going to go further. I'm going to go further. We're going to collaborate. We're going to build. We're not like, oh, bro, don't look at what I got going on with my podcast.
Yeah, don't ask me for guests. Don't
do that, right? But it's because we've been indoctrinated and taught that way and stirred that way. That's why people feel anxiety, and they may be, a little like guarded and protected and not ready to put their thing out because of fear, because that's how we've been brought up. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to cheat on a test because that's how there ain't no cheating on the test. Like, I'm supposed to collaborate with you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yo, what was the answer to number 7? Oh, I got this. Oh, how'd you get there? Okay, boom. Oh, word. Okay, boom. What was the answer on number 9? How'd you get there? Now we both up. It ain't like, oh, I got 100, he got 91. What you do? I can't tell you, bro. Mm-hmm. That's not how it works.
It's like there's this self-deluded assumption that if you win, I can't win.
Facts.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're all supposed to win.
Then you know there's hella schools across the whole country. Mm-hmm. All taking the same similar tests.
Yep.
So why not? Why, you know what I'm saying? It's like we have this very narrow window and thought process because we've been stirred in that direction. And that's why people are not creating, sharing, giving, may feel a little bit inclusive about what their ideas are and don't want to bring them out to the world.
Especially where we were born and raised, New York and Boston,
Yeah.
we're known for it's every man for themselves,
Yeah.
right? It's a free-for-all. We're out here, I feel like everybody wants to collaborate on some, whether it's real or whether it's fake.
You think it has something to do with the weather?
Yeah, everybody's mean. I think the cities are just tough in general.
Yeah.
I think Boston's way more united than New York is, where like people are tough, but I feel like everybody has each other's backs in Boston, where New York, it's cutthroat.
I feel like that. I feel like the thing about New York though is New York's very diverse. It is cutthroat, but at the same time there's a lot of culture there. In Boston, I feel like is way corporate, blue collar, and it's like how Boston works is like I don't like you until you prove to me that I should like you. You know what I'm saying? Where like in LA, it's like, oh, we all cool, but I'm fake.
Really.
I don't really like you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I ain't talking to you after this. You know what I'm saying? So on the East Coast, Boston, whatever, once you actually gain a friend or you gain that respect, you have it. And then we locked in, we rocking until there's a reason why we shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And again, I think like you said, it's because the landscape of the city. You know, it's colder, it's harsher, tougher. We gotta use more resilience. You know, when you're like, oh, I gotta go to work and it's 10 degrees outside, I'm not questioning why you're going to work because it's 10 degrees outside. It's like, bro, it's a Thursday.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? In LA, it's like, bro, it's raining. I ain't going out this weekend.
Dude, I have friends who will cancel plans because it's raining. Like,
Yeah.
I can't go out. I can't drive. It's raining.
Yeah.
I'm like, raining?
That's foolishness.
It's raining. What an excuse. What do you say to those people who have listened to this show and think, I want to start my own brand? Like, what is your quick piece of advice to wrap up this episode?
If you want to start your own brand and you're worried about like not having content, I think the easiest way for you to get content is a strategy that I like to call the 52W. So if you go on a podcast once a week for 52 weeks, which is a calendar year, that's 52 different platforms that will get to know who you are, what you do, the value that you provide to the marketplace, how you help people, and you're creating content basically without you having to create the content. Now, when that content's over, when a podcast is over, you have all these episodes that you can start to repurpose. If you're someone that doesn't post on social, magically you have all this content to post on social. If you don't have a YouTube channel built up, magically you have all this content to go back on your YouTube channel. I think we start there. Now you're more searchable, you're more findable, you can become more omnipresent. And all you did was take 30 or 60 minutes a week. That'll help you get out there, right? You get more comfortable talking. You understand your messaging, your cadences. You know, you can practice more on your articulation. I think that's a great way to start building brand. And then on top of that, I would say collaborate as much as possible.
Collaborate with as many people as possible. Collaborate with me.
Yeah.
Collaborate with Brendon.
Let's do it.
Where can the people find you on social media?
So I want to give away one thing, and then I'm gonna tell them where they can find me. So listen, I have a free podcast program for y'all. It's called the 100K Podcast. So go to 100K podcastprogram.com, completely free. We got podcast monetization strategies in there. I got a 2-hour workshop teaching you different ways to monetize. I got a 30-day mindset module in there. Bunch of value. There's link to my tour. There's link to my workshop, all for you completely for free. 100kpodcastprogram.com. And you can find me on all the social platforms at ITS Brendon Boyd. So it's Brendon Boyd on all platforms.
It's Brendon Boyd, episode 812 of the podcast, guys. Be a friend, tell a friend. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Jack O'Hara TV.